Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini episode, today I have a couple of UFO and alien encounter stories that are very fascinating. One that took place during the Ottoman Empire, and another that took place during modern day America. Either way, we'll read this article first. Running spaceman observed in Abilene, Texas neighborhood. It's a very bizarre account in which this witness saw this person in what looked like a spacesuit, or maybe some sort of alien, spacesuit, running through their neighborhood. Either way, let's get into the article now by reading this brief blurb from it. It was wearing a helmet, like a space helmet, and it was dressed in a cobalt glass-looking material because you could see through it. You could see it had a shirt on and pants on. It had a human form. Very interesting, folks. Let's read the full account now. Hi, I have an encounter I want to tell you about from 2007. It was the 4th of July, and I was at my father-in-law's house in Abilene, Texas. Everyone went into the house while Sid and I, my father-in-law, stood outside in the yard cooking something. As I talked to him, I looked down the road and saw something running down the middle of the street, coming around the corner. It just stayed right in the middle of the road. It's very unusual for someone to be running down the middle of the street like that. Now, the good thing for a witness here, folks, is that he had his father-in-law with him, so he probably also saw this entity. But then again, we've read through other accounts where people have seen strange things in the sky or cryptids, and other people around them, well, sometimes don't see them, either because they weren't looking in the right direction, or sadly sometimes the people around them just are not able to see these entities. But let's hope our witness here has his father-in-law's corroboration to basically, back up his story, folks. Either way, let's get back to the article and read what else that the witness and his father-in-law saw. So I stood there talking to my father-in-law, and it started getting closer. Every time I looked up, it became clearer to me, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. When it got near my father-in-law's fence, the dog started chasing it, barking at it. Then my father-in-law looked up and saw it. He looked at me, and I looked at him, and at the same time, we said, "Did you see that?" It was wearing a helmet, like a space helmet, and it was dressed in cobalt glass-looking material because you could see through it. You could see it had a shirt and pants on. It had a human form. So indeed, folks, this entity looked like a human. Now, it could be that maybe this was some weirdo in some sort of spacesuit that they built in their garage or something, and he was running down the street as some sort of prank, perhaps. This could very well have been maybe something like maybe a YouTube video or someone basically doing something similar and pranking these people, because it does sound reasonable to me, folks. But is that really what happened here? Because these guys don't sound like they were just looking at a guy in a Halloween costume, because it sounds like the witness was kind of perturbed at what he was seeing, like it was otherworldly to him. But then again, maybe I'm reading too much into this article and basically just, using my own headcanon to think that this was indeed some sort of cryptid or maybe alien sighting, folks. Because, as I said, it did look like a guy in a spacesuit. It had human form. So, to me, it sounds like this is a good chance that this might have been some sort of prank being performed on these two. But it is also probable that they saw something, not exactly normal either. Either way, let's finish off this article now. Then it got down by our cars and truck, and I looked to the other side, and it never came out on the other side. I said it never did come out on the other side, and my father said, "Go look." I stood in the yard and said hello, and it responded back to me, but I can't remember what it said. It wasn't something I could understand. It was some sort of different language or something. My father kept saying, "Go on out there, go on out there." So I looked underneath the car. I wouldn't go in the back, not knowing what the thing was, so I started looking under the car for extra legs or something, but I didn't see anything on the other side. So I walked around the corner, and there was nothing there. I walked all the way around the car, and there was nothing there. My father-in-law asked, "Did you see it come around?" And I said, "No, it's just disappeared." So that assuredly clinches it, folks. This entity disappeared, so it was most definitely not anything ordinary, like, say, some prankster. It was something else. Either way, very, very intriguing. But let's move on to the next article and read through that before we talk about the first article we read through. Either way, the next article is titled, "The Light That Stopped Sim Sultan, Celestial Intervention in Ottoman History." And indeed, folks, we have a story that comes back from during, the Ottoman Empire. A very important story that's been talked about for centuries. Either way, let's get into it now. This article was written by a man known as Bülent Oturkesi. If I mispronounced that name, I'm sorry. Either way, let's get into it now. History books rarely dwell on Sim Sultan's failed siege of Konya. Yet what happened there in 1481 was more than just a civil conflict. It was a night that defied reason, a moment that has baffled both historians and believers for centuries, because something appeared in the sky and everything changed. Okay, this part of the article is titled, Not Just a Power Struggle. After the death of Sultan Mehmed II, the Ottoman Empire stood at a crossroads. Sim Sultan, the younger son, marched from his post in Bursa, challenging his brother Bayezid for the throne. With his army at the gates of Konya, the city stood as a crucial stronghold. Victory there might have changed the course of Ottoman history, but it never happened. Instead, a strange light appeared above the army, and this chapter is titled, A Light That Lit the Whole Camp. According to chroniclers and folk accounts, a round, radiant, unmoving light emerged in the middle of the night. It made no sound, it didn't move, yet it illuminated the entire encampment. Soldiers froze, some fled, others whispered of a bad omen. Indeed, folks, when people see things in the sky, usually it's a comet, they say it's usually a bad omen of things to come. And considering that these people were basically very illiterate and probably didn't know anything about objects in space, so seeing something like this round object just flying and sitting in the middle of the sky over their encampment probably drove a lot of them possibly to commit suicide or literally crazy from basically the sounds of it. Either way, people fled into the desert, and I have no doubt that those that fled, it probably was a death sentence to them, so it might as well have been suicide. Either way, I can no doubt say this, folks. It was probably, as I said, incredibly harrowing and left an indelible mark on the men who saw it. Either way, let's get back to this article. The following morning, without a battle, Sim lifted the siege and withdrew. Official narratives later interpreted this as a divine warning, but the nature of the light remains unexplained. Then, the next chapter in this article says, a holy sign or an early UFO sighting. For centuries, the story was wrapped in religious language, a sign from God, they said, but in recent years, researchers and alternative historians have offered a new possibility. Was this one of the earliest recorded UFO encounters? Think about it. Bright, round, silent, stationary, no fire, no smoke, no celestial object fits the description. It didn't behave like lightning or a comet, and the psychological impact it had on an entire army that's consistent with many modern UFO sightings. Some theorize the light was merely observing. Others suggest intervention. Perhaps something or someone did not want Sim Sultan to win. Indeed, folks, maybe that's exactly what happened here. It could be that maybe this was not an intervention by alien beings, but maybe time travelers. Maybe, for whatever reason, there's a good chance that if Sim Sultan won, it would alter the timeline. But then again, folks, that's just me theorizing about this. Let's read the rest of this article, folks, and then we can theorize about this story and the first one we read through. No answers, just questions. Sim's life unraveled after that. He lived the rest of his years in exile, a pawn in European politics. The mysterious light never returned. But the story still echoes. So what was it? A divine presence? An alien observer? A trick of the mind? Or maybe just a question no one in the 15th century knew how to ask? Indeed, folks, I imagine that no one actually did back then knew how to answer this particular question that was posed to them and those who witnessed this event. And Sim Sultan, he probably basically mistook this thing for indeed divine intervention. And from what the ending of the article just told us, it sounds like Sim Sultan spent the rest of his life moping around because he perhaps displeased his god. Because he spent the rest of it, well, somewhat, I guess, well, not doing anything. So, like in the first story, folks, people saw something they could not explain, but it sounds like if multiple people saw the same phenomena, it could affect all of history, so very intriguing. But folks, we're at the end, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics They're Bad For You. Hit that like button for me, make sure you're still subscribed, leave some comments down below, hit that bell for notifications, hit the part of the bell that will give you all future notifications, and please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.